UFC star receives indefinite medical suspension after recently admitting worrying financial issues before Noche UFC.1 UFC fighter, who would have been hoping to stay active, is set for some time on the sidelines. The third annual Noche UFC event took place in San Antonio on September 13th, where several fighters dealt with significant injuries. Alessandro Costa shared a gruesome video after having his foot caught inside the cage before he was stopped in the third round. Jared Gordon, who passionately responded to critics, was hit by a car the day before the fight and still competed inside the octagon on Saturday night. These instances, along with one particularly rare stoppage, led to some significant medical suspensions for the athletes on the card. Latest news: Tom Aspinall's teammate gets first UFC main event just weeks after brutal knockout in his debut. Cedric Dumas, suspended indefinitely after injury, led to no contest result at Noche UFC. The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, or TDLR, recently handed out a total of 26 medical suspensions for Noche UFC fighters. 2 of those suspensions were indefinite, meaning that they will need to get medical clearance before they can make their return to the octagon. One of those fighters, along with Dusko Todorovic, is middleweight fighter Cedric Dumas. Dumas' fight with Zachary Reese ended due to a groin kick early on in the first round, which the Reaper couldn't continue from. The 30-year-old's comments to the doctor during the pause in the action suggested that he had suffered a significant injury, with Dumas later being stretchered out of the cage. This matchup was especially important for the 6-fight UFC veteran after Dumas recently spoke about his financial difficulties, sharing that he had just $13.96 in his bank account due to the price of being an adult and paying legal actions and stuff in your life. Read the full list of medical suspensions below. Latest news: Manny Pacquiao, Robert Whittaker, and more fighters join Netflix show Fizikanoche UFC fighter medical suspension. Diego Lopez, 7 days. Gene Silva, 30 days. David Martinez, 30 days. Rob Font, 30 days. Rafa Garcia, 30 days. Jared Gordon, 45 days. Kelvin Gastelum, 30 days. Dustin Stoltzfus, 60 days. Alexander Hernandez, 7 days. Diego Ferreira, 60 days. Santiago Luna, 7 days. Kwang Lu, 30 days. Dusko Todorovic, indefinitely. Jose Medina, 45 days. Joaquim Silva, 30 days. Claudio Puelles, 10 days. Tatiana Suarez, 10 days. Amanda Lemos, 30 days. Jesus Aguilar, 10 days. Luis Gurley, 21 days. Zachary Reese, 7 days. Cedric Dumas, indefinitely. Alden Correa, 10 days. Alessandro Costa, 30 days. Montserrat Rendon, 1 month. Alice Pereira, 10 days. Gene Silva only receives a 30-day medical suspension after suffering significant damage. In the main event of Noche UFC, Gene Silva was stopped by Diego Lopez in his first loss inside the octagon. The ending of the fight saw the surging featherweight contender suffer several significant cuts, though it appears from his 30-day medical suspension that they are not a major concern. Silva stated that the damage he took ended up impacting the way that he fought when reflecting on the loss via a video on social media. "Look at this cut here, my eye. Well, unfortunately, yesterday emotions ran high. I couldn't see well in that second round and ended up going all out, trying to get out of there swinging," Silva said, translation via X. As Palavras de Brazil Gene Silva, Pio Esterota, Pro Brazil Diego Lopez. pic.twitter.com/CKWMH2T7MX. MMA Melato at MMA Melato, September 14th, 2025. As a result of a spectacular win in San Antonio, Lopez ended up receiving 2 additional bonuses. That UFC title challenger admitted they were shocked after luring opponent into a trap that commentators warned about. UFC title challenger displayed why they are one of the most dangerous fighters in one area on this day 5 years ago. The octagon has been home to some decorated grapplers ever since the UFC first started to bring mixed martial arts to the masses. That jiu-jitsu may not be the most dominant skill set in the sport, but that doesn't mean we haven't seen some fighters that are able to use this part of their game to devastating effect. The promotion's roster currently features several notable female competitors that do their best work when the fight hits the floor. While Jillian Robertson may lead the way with most submission wins of any woman, the fighter in second place proved why she is an elite specialist on September 19th of 2020. Latest news. UFC legend points out Conor McGregor-like trait iliopathy has that could lead to Terence Crawford fight Mackenzie Dern admitted she was so surprised by Randa Markos following her to the floor before submission win. On the same night that Colby Covington defeated Tyron Woodley in their long-awaited clash, for bonuses were given out to the most impressive performances at the Apex in Las Vegas. Khamzat Chimaev's flawless performance against Gerald Meerschaert earned him an additional check, as did Mackenzie Dern's fifth octagon appearance. The former ADCC world champion had already showcased her elite submission skills in a bounce-back win after suffering her first loss that Canada's Randa Markos stood in the way of her producing back-to-back wins, only to get caught in an armbar in the first round. The most surprising aspect of the fight was that after Dern slipped just 15 seconds into the fight, her opponent chose to follow her to the ground, which the commentary team immediately highlighted as a potential mistake. Dern admitted in her post-fight press conference that she was caught off guard by Markos' decision, having immediately threatened with submissions off of her back before taking top position and securing the finish. No, for sure, I thought it was amazing, but I was shocked. I definitely think that most of the people would be like, hey, stand up and have space. I was so surprised, especially when she kind of came into my guard and I almost had the triangle. It wasn't so tight, but it was a triangle and I didn't see her really stand up or try to defend. MMA throwback. UFC star set a record by Sparta-kicking rival into a choke that put him out cold in just 19 seconds. Mackenzie Dern will put her skill set to the test in the biggest fight of her career. While Mackenzie Dern was happy that Randa Markos followed her to the mat, she admitted that she was slightly embarrassed by slipping over after throwing a head kick. We've seen her overall game improve over time, which has led her to the biggest fight of her career. At UFC 321, she will face Verna Jandiroba for the vacant strawweight title in a rematch of their 2020 bout that Dern won via a unanimous decision. While many will expect Dern to have an advantage in the grappling, here's how their stats match up. Stats: Mackenzie Dern, Verna Jandiroba. Career submission wins 8-14. Takedown average landed per 15 minutes 0.89, 2.37. Takedown accuracy 17%, 33%. Takedown defense percent of opponents' takedown attempts that didn't land 25%, 73%. Average submissions attempted per 15 minutes 1.2, 1.8. The stats alone suggest that Jandiroba won't be afraid to grapple with her opponent, meaning Dern might need to showcase everything she has learned to leave Abu Dhabi with the gold. Georges St-Pierre names two UFC legends who inadvertently helped him become an all-time great. Georges St-Pierre will go down as one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. GSP dominated at welterweight for years before taking a break from the UFC in November 2013. 4 years later, the Canadian fight icon beat Michael Bisping to become a two-weight UFC champion.